Hello, you guys. Happy Friday. I hope everyone had a really good week. I am here to talk about something. I have a subject today. Woo. And I kind of want to explore it as we film this video. It was okay, so right off the bat, right now, the song that's stuck in my head is 500 Miles, the one that goes, Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two. That one. And it's stuck in my head every time I think of it. Well, there are a few songs that just immediately make me very emotional. And I had mentioned this before that whenever I PMS, I tend to somehow, I just have an influx in empathy and love for humanity. Not to sound fake, but that's genuinely what I experience throughout. And it's very like, and I use the example of the movie Don't Look Up because it's just an expression of the gratitude of, well, I mean, it's commentary on how society would react in the case of a comet hurling towards us. But other than that, I like to take away the other component, which is the gratitude we have for what we've become as humanity. And apart from all the negative shit and all the fucked up things that we do as people, I mean, humans among the animal kingdom are the worst species. But, I'm trying to be positive. So anyway, I'm not PMSing right now, at least I don't think, but I'll have my moments where I'll be listening to a song or something and it'll just graduate my emotions from now to something very dramatic. But particularly who I'm thinking of rather than what is my little cousin, and he is my brother. Like I've said this a few times already that we've grown up together. Well, if anything, like we're 7 years apart, so maybe he's grown up around me. Whatever. It's just when I lived with them, I was a kid, and so I think I also grew up too. We genuinely behave like siblings. Like, real quick, I remember the last time he visited me in Florida, the night before that, him and I had a hard argument. And it was so stupid. He's studying psych, so I called him. I was like, "Hey, can you like psychoanalyze me a bit? Like, can you do that? Tell me like, what you think of me as like someone who's majoring in this." Gave me like I just fucking clocked me, or what is it? Put me on blast. He put me on blast, man. And we just started arguing. And then I didn't talk to him for the next day. I just wasn't in the mood. But then the day after, I called him at night and he was like, "Hey, are you still mad at me?" And I was like, "No, I love you." And then I was like, "You want to come over?" And then he drove over, like from Virginia to Florida. Which I was like, "Damn, I love you." I'll be on the phone with you all night. But anyway, so what was I gonna say? Yeah, so the song played and he often like reposts that song over like certain TikTok edits and stuff. So I naturally just think of him, and we do share similar music tastes, especially music from that era or music that's pretty similar to it. I think I've also mentioned that like I like folk, and I think he does too to some extent. Definitely not stadium country, but somewhere around there. And we find our balance, and it's cute because like when he was a kid, like in elementary school, I was in high school, and I used to play like I had my alt rock phase, and so I would play. Oh my god, I'm totally like moving further away from my point. But real quick, I used to play my music and all the Pearl Jam and Nirvana and maybe Smashing Pumpkins if it's on Pandora, because that's what I would use back then. I guess it kind of like it captured it. Maybe I don't know. That's my narrative in my head, but. Anyway, so I was thinking of him, got me all emotional and teary, and I miss him to pieces. And I was thinking of dropping by soon. And then I was thinking of that while also considering making a video. And it occurred to me like, oh, this might be a good segue into a subject that I've been wanting to talk about, which is honestly having patience. It's something that I don't think I've even learned it. I don't think I've conquered the trait at all, because I know how I function in my day to day, and I know what little patience I have. Um, but, I've always discussed this focal trait of mine, which has a lot to do with writing, whether it be the integrity for it or the determination or whatever it may be. I mean, it is very much part of my identity, and I'm proud of myself for that. However, I think the one thing that truly takes precedence is being a good person. I'm not saying I am one, I'm not saying I'm perfect in any way, but I'm definitely in pursuit of it. And this is like, it's interesting because as someone with OCD, like this is something I fixate on to ensure that, I'm like this trait, this characteristic is maintained. So, I don't want to get into the OCD end of it and how would I combat that to ensure I don't have compulsions or looping, but rather I just want to talk about something that does take precedence over over writing, and I guess like that endeavor, that vocation, that pursuit that I have is kind of a catalyst for the lack of patience and the hyperactivity and excessive productivity. I mean, honestly, this week I wrote a 52-page pilot that I was supposed to submit, but I didn't even like it. Like, and I realized, like, hey, maybe I need to take a breath and step back. And this isn't an original thought. My therapist brought this up to me as well. So I'm, trying to figure out leisure leisure outside of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday evening, whatever, you get it. But so I guess thinking of that song and then considering what the subject will be for today kind of marries the two, which is that I think patience is not, I have been saying this for some time, like I need to learn it through certain practices, be it meditating or yoga or something of the sort, something that has the connotation of patience. And you know what? I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think this is a fundamental virtue that needs to be understood within before externally practicing it in any way. And so I think to understand the flow of patience, one must also kind of, I guess, focus on the opposite of what is causing the lack of, And the opposite for me, in terms of leisure, would be to, I guess, spend time with my loved ones. What is it? Oh my God. I think I'm starting to realize that I can't figure it out for myself. But I know it has little to do with the practice. However, I mean, there is the other theory that function follows form. And so if I were to do certain, activities that require the trait, then maybe I will continue to learn it. But I've always been the type to believe that it comes from within, it comes from within, the faith, the concept, the belief in it, and then you can go and execute it however you like. And I'm really referring to the subject of like confidence, fake it to make it helps. It really does. Affirmations certainly help too, but it's really making sense of it from within, And so I think patience for me, in order to really grasp the concept and implement it into my life, would have to stem from, I guess, it's weird, like, a lot of this kind of leads back to self-worth and self-love, and I've, discussed that in my last video. So if I were to ruminate over why I am so impatient or so hyper about some of my goals here, it would have a lot to do with fear, time, like this desperate greed to make it in some regard. And you further track it and decipher where is that coming from. For me, the idea of success, the idea of moving forward in my life, comes from a place of, I guess, I wouldn't say it's entirely unhealthy, but, making certain people in my life very proud, particularly my mom and dad. You know, they gave me the privilege to be a writer, and I want to prove them right, that they, you know, they invested their hope in me, and for good reason. That's where that comes from. And then also, as we've discussed in my earlier videos, I've taken some major risks to pursue this field, and I don't want to fuck up. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to wrong myself. So these are some things that kind of support the impatience and whatnot. And while it's not necessarily detrimental or negative, I do think that I need to put myself in a space. And I think this also is a component of manifestation. We don't really have to get into it. I like to believe in the concept of manifestation. I don't think it's all spiritual woo-woo. I think it has a lot to do with, interestingly enough, the function follows form type of thing. And so I think that if I were to put myself in the mindset and let go of not the dream, but the propulsion or the you know, I guess the aggressive need to achieve it. Take a step back and learn to conceptually, not in reality, even though right now I'm having a hard time believing it, but like love myself without the endeavor, you know? And if I didn't have this goal, and if I didn't have this dream, and if that dream wasn't a reality, or that I don't believe that's a reality, you know, how can I sit with myself, you know? And that leads me to what else I do like about who I am. And that's kind of what I was talking about, is if I'm trying to learn patience, then I have to focus on the opposite of what causes the impatience. And so what I like about myself is my love for people. Honestly, I mean, saying it with my chest, like I really do feel that way. And irregularly, like it's just, it, you know, I don't know. I know it sounds fake, but I don't know. I love people, and well, not everybody, but you know, I generally do. And the people I truly love, you know, I guess I would like to focus on how much attention I do give to them, or care, or concern, or, you know, think about them without even telling them that I think about them. And these things are important to me. They make up my identity and is something I'm proud of, and truly I think it takes precedence over my vocational dreams. So it doesn't really necessarily give me a blueprint on how to achieve patience, you know, but it's something to think about, because I guess the whole goal is to understand what causes the impatience, and then put myself in a mindset without certain variables that are pushing the impatience. And I guess the circumstance and the situation, or I guess would be that someone like me without the dreams, you know? And how do I sit with that? How do I live with that? Can I love this version of me? It's hard, you know. I think like everyone within the Western culture, at least, you know, it could be global, yeah, but particularly I say Western because of the high-end late-stage capitalism. We believe, you know, our worth is very much dependent on the like typical concept of how productive we are, you know. And without that, how do we sit with ourselves? Yeah. And what do we appreciate about ourselves? Well, like I said, I appreciate my role in my version of my community. And I like that I love so much. I like that I feel so much. That's another thing that I like about myself. Just the range of emotions that I've experienced. And you know, there's this beautiful epiphany that I had a couple years ago, and which is, you know, it's not unique, but it's an epiphany. It's unique to me to experience it, to really process it, and that life is ephemeral. It will end, and you know, I I need to sometimes look at it from a third person perspective, or maybe from this bird's eye view that, everything that's happening is going to end. I'm going to end one day, and it is one life. So whatever I've experienced, negative, positive, there's some beauty to it, because that just only proves that I am human and I existed. And oh my god, that makes me so emotional to even think about, because I feel that for anybody else. You exist, and what you've done in this life, no matter like, without measurement, you have left a legacy of just not even necessarily, I'm talking about, like bloodline or anything like that, but your existence here was a legacy in the most intangible sense, just by how you left your bed unmade before going to work. Like, that was time that happened, and that was a mark, a testament to you existing in the first place. And I feel like there isn't enough conversation, or maybe I'm not around that conversation of the gratitude of a whole ass human with a completion of their experience, and what's become of them. Like, it I may not be making much sense, but I don't know. I think I happen to possess too much appreciation for the reality we inhabit. Um, so let's keep continuing that list. And hopefully I kind of set not in the righteous way again, but like an example of like, how do we love ourselves without productivity being a facet in our lives. Can we, and hopefully maybe that helps understand how to accept patience into our lives as well, just as I described the process. So in that process, right now we're making that list, and it's like the love I have for people, the emotions I feel, or the depth I have, are, again, like, I'm not boasting about myself, but I'm just, simply sharing what I do like about who I am. And what else? Animals. I love animals so much. I do. I love animals a lot. And my fascination with them, and my fascination with culture and history. And again, like, I guess, just like when I do ponder, where do I go? And it has a lot to do with, I'm not sure if I've even talked about this as well, but like the why factor of things, in a very fundamental sense, regard. So, like, why do we do the things we do, or why are we the way we are, whatnot, all that good stuff. And I tend to think about that stuff often, and it fascinates me, and it makes me appreciate who I am, because it's like, I think I have this like very out of body recognition, like I have an out of identity, third person, bird's eye view of my life. I have an out of body recognition of who I am and my thought patterns and stuff, and I'm fascinated by myself too. And that is something I like about who I am. And I like that, I've kind of learned how to take dissociative tendencies and use it to my benefit, I guess. So, those are some things that I like about myself. And I like that I'm goofy. I like that I'm funny. I like that I care to make people laugh. Hopefully they're laughing genuinely, but that's something I really enjoy. I mean, it's so, I like writing, and I'm going to talk about this, but I'm going to mean it in a very leisurely, recreational sense. I love it. I do love that that's part of me, yeah. And I think that, we've been taught, weirdly enough, I need to take a smoke break. 1 second. We've been taught that, I guess we haven't been taught enough how to speak kindly of ourselves, and not to be self-deprecative, and to really love who we are, and to share how much we love ourselves to others, because of the society we live in. And it's not really our faults, but what we've been taught, this notion of competition in the world, be it through, I don't even have to venture into like what areas we compete in typically. I think we know them, but we are taught to compete, and so it is kind of taboo to speak with so much love for yourself, you know, but I think it's backwards. I think that we should, you know, share what we like about ourselves and expect to be loved and return that, you know. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for me growing up, you know, but I had to learn that, you know, and it is fucking true. The only way you can love others is to love yourself, really, like genuinely, because then when you don't love yourself and you start, you know, permitting permitting ideas or criticism about yourself, your internal monologue, like, should filter that out. But if it doesn't, you know, then the lack of self-esteem and the hatred that you have will permeate through your other relationships, you know. And I don't mean to say that that should, you know, be a priority before loving yourself. It's pointless to even mention that, because the whole point because the whole idea of what I'm saying is to love yourself, you know. And that's about it, really. I think for me, at least, talking here today helped me map out how I'm going to acquire patience, because again, like I said, you know, function follows form is pretty cool, but I like to accept the idea, or yeah, the belief within before practicing it, because otherwise, you know, like it just doesn't make sense to me, at least, you know. So yeah, I mean, and that blueprint, I guess, for a quick recap would be to, I guess, recognize what supports the impatience, where does that come from, focus on the opposite of what that is, live in that reality for a moment, you know, which I was talking about as like a component of manifestation, but I won't get into it. But live in that moment, live in that reality, live in the acceptance of who you are without the constituents that cause the impatience, you know. And how do you feel about yourself? So far, I feel pretty good about myself. I don't know about you. Well, I do. And I do hope that you achieve that love for yourself as well. One life, baby. You got one life. No pressure to do it right, but the least you can do is to nurture and really just, if you have to, coddle yourself. Love yourself. Protect yourself. You know, do what's good. Do what's right. Do what sets your soul free. I like to believe that we are, oh, this sounds so fantastical, but I like to believe that we are born with good souls and good hearts. So it's there, it exists, and you have all the right to prioritize it. So yeah, I will leave you with that. I'm gonna go get a really good salad with some shrimp and some the salad that I want. Why am I doing this? Whatever. It has mandarins in it. I just think that sounds really tasty. So I'm going to go get that for myself. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, rest of your week, and I will see you later. Mwah! Bye!